Hello, podcast listeners and anime fans. This is Demon Boy Torin.
And this is Magical Boy Andrew.
I was hoping you would do that. I was like, if I take Demon, he might take Magical Girl or Magical Boy, I guess. But yeah,
Should I do a spin?
Yeah, you got to do a spin
edit in
and
some sparkling.
yeah, and the little smile at the end, like that apparently.
Wink.
Yeah, the wink. That's what it was. The wink. Well, this is all relevant because today we're talking about The Demon Girl Next Door, which is a, I guess you could say, cute girls do cute things comedy, which I mean, a lot of them are comedy, but it's cute girls do cute things. So yeah, we're going to be talking about that, talking about demon girls and magical girls. Watch out on social media for what we're doing next, because we still have Shield Hero on our list, but it's a lot to watch. So
Yeah, so this was filler because it was easy. I finished this like a week ago.
you finish? Okay, I finished it last night because I hadn't seen it before. But that's fine. That works. With that being said, spoiler alerts for this show. It's once again cute girls do cute things, so it's not much for spoilers. It's more of a ride than a like plot driven, although we'll get into that a little bit because this one tries. But anyway,
I don't know if it actually tries. They kind of just loosely connect everything.
Anyway, I have a feeling this is going to be a very interesting episode. So we'll see, because it's interesting content. And anyway, Andrew, start us off.
I wrote down this show is a part parody, part post-90s magical girl anime. 8 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah, I guess you said it was 80s, 90s. What did you say?
I said 80s because I kept thinking of Cardcaptor Sakura, which I saw some is the popular one. I'm sure there were more besides Sailor Moon.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of those old OG, well, I guess they aren't OG, but the more popular old.
They came out in English when we were growing up.
Yeah. They popularized the genre in the Western audience. But yeah, so this will be interesting because my take is want to watch an anime with jokes lining up one after another, want to have them either be so fast that they are hard to understand or so dragged out that you end up looking at your phone, then this cute girls doing cute things anime is right for you. 6 out of 10.
Oh, not a fan then.
No, I like it. Not a fan. And we'll get into why, because I do know this came out, what was it, 2019, I think?
I think so.
Yeah. I saw some people compare it to another show that came out in the same season that was also cute girls do cute things. I don't remember which one it was. General consensus that I saw was either people liked this or compared to it to that other one and said the other one was better.
You'd have to tell me what the other one is because I couldn't tell you.
I might have to look it up again because, like I said, that's what I saw a lot was people kind of comparing it to the other one. Anyway, with that being said, some people, I guess, were comparing this to Endro. I didn't watch Endro. That one came out the season after.
Yeah, we took Endro.
We took a little break trying to figure out what I was talking about. Couldn't find it. Not worried about it.
There's a weird cut there.
Weird cuts. Isn't that our whole show? With all
weird
that out
opinions and weird cuts.
With that out of the side, let's get a little into it for those who haven't seen it since 2019. Give the premise. Yuko Yoshida has a strange dream and wakes up with horns and a tail. She's apparently a demon girl now. Her dream turns out to have been from an ancestor awakening Yuko's demon blood. The ancestor tasks Yuko with returning the clan's former glory by vanquishing a magical girl that lives in the area. Yuko later ends up running into a magical girl, and that magical girl saves her life from Truck-kun. The magical girl ends up being Toyota Momo. Momo turns out to be a classmate at Sakura Goka High.
I think it's a joke.
I think it's probably a joke. This is a comedy. I can't even say it, so I'm a joke. And is much stronger than Yuko. Momo is intrigued.
And also the rest of everyone else.
Yeah. Intrigued and taking pity on Yuko, Momo helps train Yuko and Yuko continues to try to defeat Momo and help save her family from poverty at the same time. That's in essence the premise. These two girls come together and comedy ensues. That's pretty much the whole concept of the show. And that's just premise, because they do try to have a plot in this show.
Barely. I don't really consider them to be trying to have a plot other than like I said, a loose string of events that has happened.
Yeah. Let's start though with, normally we do world building. It's normal Japan, except the main characters can somehow be magical girls or demon girls, and no one seems to care. There's the entire world building. Doesn't really matter.
Right, yeah. So apparently magical girls also have existed for years, and also the demon clan has existed for years.
Yeah, and they can cast seals and giant stuff all over an entire city, and no one seems to know the wiser or care. Whatever. And on top of that, the fact magical girls can like just turn into their magical girl form in the middle of the street. No one bats an eye, but the main character turns into her demon girl form, which is just the same thing, but dark colors instead of bright colors.
But it's inappropriate because she's basically wearing a bikini.
Yeah, but everyone notices. That's the weird part. Anyway, let's get into characters though, because it's a character-driven comedy. It's cute girls doing cute things. Although, unlike most cute girls doing cute things, this one in essence has two. There's not that many. Yeah, they get a third one later, but it's
Mikan shows up at the last second too. I've got stuff about Mikan.
Yeah, first off, let's start out with Yuko herself, and Yuko is apparently super weak. Like, they can't quite understand themselves how weak she is, but she's apparently super weak. I don't know, she doesn't really fit the clumsy trope too much, which is kind of shocking for
her mother. Her mother fits the clumsy trope and says, I was clumsy as a child as well. Yuko tends towards the dunce trope. Yeah. She's not clumsy, she's just an idiot.
Yeah. The big thing is that Yuko's entire purpose in the show, as far as I can tell, is to be the punching bag.
And
I don't know how I feel about that. Like,
the main character is the joke character?
Not just that, but the fact that that's all she is. Like, all she is a punching bag. Nearly every joke in the entire show is directed at her.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, the entire show. Pretty much all the jokes are directed at one character.
She's also the only one moving the quote-unquote plot forward, in that she's like trying to help Momo, trying to become somebody better, and trying to like save her family, basically.
Yeah, but towards the end, you've got three main characters, plus on top of that, multiple side characters. And
I don't know if Mikan is considered a main character other than another side character like Yuko's friends.
Yeah, I mean, you at least have the two, though. At least Momo and her are both main characters. Like, it's a dual main character show. They both have pretty much equal screen time. Not quite, but pretty close. And they're the crux of everything. Like, Momo has part of the plot. Like, she's a major part of, in essence, the plot. What plot there is. And she's the one across from Yuko on everything. But pretty much every joke is directed at... It just seems like lazy comedy. That, like, everything is pretty much directed at one character. And she's that hard of a punching bag.
Yeah. I think there's only two main characters, and that's Momo and Yuko.
Yeah. I mean, if
Mikan, I kind of put over next to her Yuko's sister Ryu.
Yeah, she's part of the group, but not a focus. Yeah, it's primarily the two characters. It's their relationship is the thing of this show, in essence, like the whole way through, is those two. They do try to have some of the quote unquote plot later, like revolve around her to an extent, but we'll get into that later. I have a lot to say about the last few episodes of this show. But man, her weakness. That, like I said, they can't quite determine how weak she is. It's like at times it's like okay, she can do normal stuff, and then at times it's like oh, she can't even like break two popsicles apart. Um,
Yeah, she picks the lightest weight there is, and the comparative is like a 1 liter bottle of water.
yeah, or she'll like dumbbell curl the ancestor or whatever, and it's like
Yeah.
okay, all right, so she's weak, but at the same, yeah, like I said,
I'm pretty sure the popsicle breaking was just included in the making fun of her being weak. I don't think they're actually putting a power level because, uh, like she could never run in her childhood until she got her horns, and even then, like
she's a bad runner.
yeah, she's a bad runner because she never did it. But apparently, she can get roped into what was it, a 4 kilometer run, having never done that
Yeah,
before.
yeah, like jog 4 kilometers out of nowhere. Yeah, it is kind of weird. By the way, that popsicle thing did bug me because it was literally a last minute jab at her. It's like
Yeah, that's true.
this was the last episode, nearly the very end, and it's like we need one more jab at the main character about her being weak, and it's probably the most aggressive, like look how weak she is that they add to the whole thing because it's probably the weakest demonstration out of everything. Like you consider the grabs the lightest dumbbell, yeah, okay, but this one's literally she can't break a popsicle in half, like the sharing popsicle thing. It's like it was like
I don't know.
it's
Maybe
like
those popsicles are real tough, man.
maybe now they're not as tough as slit your mouth like the other style. God,
Oh yeah, ours.
yeah, the slide up ones that yeah. Good luck
You
not
need
cutting yourself.
scissors to get open.
But it did feel almost like a last minute jab at the character, and I'm like, was it really necessary? Let's switch over to Momo for a bit. So Momo probably is the most character development that they have. Like they really don't have character development, but Momo probably has the most. And Shimi, she seems like she's the most explored emotionally. And it's
Yeah,
funny because she's the stereotype like deadpan.
yeah, she's definitely the deadpan character, but and she only really starts becoming. I'm trying to figure out how to interested in like moving forward with her life after Yuko invades her brain and like cleans up all of her
For garbage, yeah.
brain goo.
Yeah. Yeah. That was interesting though when they the next day they had the weird combination between okay, was she better or not? Because it's like at first you're like she seemed worse because she was super tired or whatever. But
Yeah,
she's
she
like
was
no,
sick.
yeah. But she's like no, I feel great because it's like okay, I guess her cleaning up that stuff actually
She,
did.
she was mentally felt better,
Yeah,
but physically was actually sick, which probably contributed to the ability for Yuko to stay in her brain that
yeah,
long.
yeah, for sure. Um, But yeah, Momo is an interesting character because so she's a magical girl, but we find out that she's a hesitant magical girl. Like she is in essence retired, but she can't retire, so she still is one, but she doesn't want to be one. Slash, like just is one out of principle. But
Yeah, it feels like she got roped into it and now she's done with it, but she can't. You can't quit, otherwise you die, basically.
the thing is, it doesn't even sound like she got roped into it because
Well,
when
she
Mikan shows
probably
when Mikan shows up, she talks about like how hey, you used to be more like excitable, and when you used to transform, you used to do the whole spin and like smile and like
yeah, when you were a cute like elementary middle schooler,
yeah, it's
and now
like
you're in high school and like, oh boy, I don't want to do this.
it sounded more like you used to like being a magical girl or like enjoy it, and even you even get that feeling from Momo where she has that feeling of like oh I'm retired, but like she can't be.
Yeah,
It's like I just don't care anymore. And you do see hints of with Yuko her being almost like, oh, she feels like there's a reason now, like she almost wants to be a magical girl again, because she mentions like the excitement of getting a personal best for how quickly she transformed
Hmm.
into a magical girl. Uh, by the way, I do like that joke where they do parody magical girls by having the animations of them transforming, and they put the clock in the corner that's like, oh yeah, there's a time dilation, don't worry about it. Like,
Yeah, and you can get a personal best. I
yeah.
would have liked to see Yuko's crisis management form have a timer and it take like 3 minutes.
Yeah, I actually thought the exact same thing. I didn't want it to take 3 minutes. I just wanted it to be an IRL like timer. So it like literally just shows the amount of time that it actually takes
Yeah.
on screen.
Hmm.
So it's like, yeah, there's a time dilation with Yuko. She's doing it in, I think her PB was 0.008 seconds.
Right.
So less than a hundredth of a second, 8 thousandths of a second. And then, yeah, that'd been hilarious for crisis management if the timer, at least the first time she turned into it, or second time, it could have been she turned into it the first time, and then the second time they put the timer on, and it's literally just counting in real time, like
Yeah.
how long
Yeah.
it's taking.
It would be like a good 5 seconds or so.
Yeah, and it shocks me that they didn't. I don't. Part of me is like, okay, is that low hanging fruit to make that joke? And it's like, well, they hit every other low hanging fruit joke in here. So is it actually a bit of laziness that they didn't take that joke a step further by showing the counter? Um, yeah, so I do find it interesting that both of us picked up on that. Like, oh, hey, you should totally show the opposite, and they just didn't. They didn't take it that far. But yeah, so Momo, she's in essence the deadpan character. With that being said, you do get, and funny enough, unlike other characters, you actually do pick up a bit on her mood. Like you can actually tell when she's angry or when she's kind of annoyed. And
Yeah,
they,
uh she's not a zero emotion character. She has emotion, she just has a deadpan face.
yeah, which then it shocks me that a lot of the other characters, like you can obviously you can tell because some of them like Yuko are supposed to be over the top with their reactions, blah blah blah. But their reactions don't seem as well thought out or as well executed as Momo's do. And I don't know if it's just because since she's the deadpan, they had to put so much more effort into, oh, she's deadpan, so like we have to take the time to make sure you can pick up on her emotions, and they put more effort
Yeah,
into it.
I
And
could
the
I
other
could see
ones,
that.
they're like, oh, she's mad, super generic, over the top mad reaction, and you're like, okay, but would she?
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, talking about emotions, you've got Yuko, and you can obviously always tell her emotions from her tail,
yeah.
which everybody else knows.
Yeah, the tail was interesting. One, it looks like it should snap because oh
Yeah,
my gosh,
it's
it's so pencil
needle
drawn.
thin.
It's so pencil drawn. It's so thin. I do find some of the jokes they ran with the tail pretty funny. It did get old that pretty much every single scene someone was holding her tail, like
Hmm.
excessively. It was they were either
And then
holding her tail or it was actively doing something, like reacting, like moving with her words or
there
whatever.
there had to be somebody on the animation team that is like, okay, what is her tail doing in like every scene?
And the answer almost always was someone was holding it, which is, like I said, almost got a bit old towards the end where it's like, okay, someone's holding her tail. Like whether it be her like tugging on it or whether someone else is like tugging on it. Um, yeah, it almost like,
Torin,
yeah,
if I had a friend who had a tail, I don't think you could keep my hands off of it.
especially since apparently it was
Gender
fluffy.
explicit.
Apparently it was
What?
fuzzy. I think
I don't remember that note.
someone comments at one point about it being either like furry or fuzzy. I think fuzzy was the response that they used. Um, which is why I think part of the idea why everyone was holding on to it. It just goes to summarize part of the issue I had with this show, which is there was almost too much repetition towards the end, where a lot of the same jokes or things were happening, like continuing to happen.
I get the feeling I haven't read this. I get the vague feeling that a lot of these were for coma scenes. Like half the show kind of feels like a for coma.
Yeah, and that could be why repetition ends up happening so much then. And it does have that feeling of we expect you to forget everything between everything. Like the fact that certain jokes are repeating or certain ideals are repeating or happening often. A great example of this is the catchphrase. The catchphrase, they use it all the time.
Don't think you won.
Yeah. Like there are times I believe there's an episode they used it 3 times in. Like there's a few where they for sure did it twice. Every episode I'm pretty sure has the catchphrase in it. Maybe not as big a deal if you're, like since this came out in 2019, I was binging it. I'm sure you were binging it to an extent.
Yeah.
So we probably pick up on it more than if you're watching an episode a week. With that being said, I still think you'd have noticed that they were using it way too often, watching it once a week, because they use it all the time.
I noticed they used it. I just thought it was cute, so I ignored it.
Yeah. They use it too much. Like, too much.
Okay, so I quickly looked it up. It is definitely a 4 manga, so...
Okay, yeah. Some of that makes sense then. But yeah, Momo does feel like she has the most thought put into her reactions and stuff. And she's really the only character who actually has an emotional moment. Where later, what was it, like episode 10 or something like that, she actually has an emotional moment where it's like, actually, that would have been 11, I think, where she feels like at fault for things happening. And like, oh, Yuko, you shouldn't like me anymore. Like, my sister's responsible for this stuff happening to you. Little weird. It's your sister that did all this, not you. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like that might be like a Japanese, like, I'm responsible for my families.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, I'm going to kind of overlook that a bit. But so she's the only one who has somewhat of a dark moment, which it's cute girls doing cute things.
Her sister's also the one that let her live in the first place.
Yeah.
Like Yuko would be dead if she hadn't.
Yeah.
Like given that was it 40,000 $400 a month curse.
Well, that's not exactly what the curse was. They said that it kind of resulted in the 40,000 yen a month. But the curse actually was that they traded work, home, dogs, lotteries, traffic, sports, and economic stability were all weighed against Yuko's health, which in essence, all of that boiled down to and resulted in a like 40,000 yen a month curse. It's not an exact science thing. They even quote 40,000 yen every time it pops up because it's just she'll like, if she ends up with money that gets roughly over that, she'll end up like losing money or an expense will happen, like the fridge dying or something will counterbalance like their success. But yeah, so they traded all of those things against Yuko's health. It's interesting, I guess. It's funny. It's like, okay, it kind of explains why these people are, in poverty or whatever. That joke, I mean, I guess that joke they didn't, I think, go too heavy on, which actually kind of shocked me compared to some of the others. The poverty thing actually was a little bit less utilized.
It was utilized a lot. Like
I said, less utilized. Compare this to Yuko's dumbness / her weakness. How often was that joked on?
About the same, honestly. At least in my mentality, is about the same, considering like how often there was a whole episode based on like, I spent all my money, or I'm in debt to Momo.
Oh my gosh, the debt thing to Momo. That one.
We can't fight until I've resolved this debt, as if I was gonna win the fight in the first place.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked that joke. I was shocked they abused the heck out of it within the first few episodes. Like the debt built up and she got more and more debt, and then they actually kind of just stopped with that joke, which actually
she got a part-time job and seemingly paid it off.
But no, because she wouldn't accept the money. She's like, no,
Yeah,
you can only pay me the 50 yen of what was it, a month, I think, or I don't know. It was 50 yen every so often.
yeah, I think it was 50. Yeah, yeah, or 10. Yeah, 50 yen a month, I think.
Yeah.
So they kind of just brush that under.
I was actually kind of shocked at that when they, because
Because she has the money to pay her off now. I think it stops being like a thing.
yeah, but I'm just shocked they didn't give her like a temp job or something. Like, one of those, you see it in other anime, one of those jobs that's like, hey, we need you, seasonal work or something. Like,
Well,
you
she
only,
did. She sold wieners.
yeah, but that was just was it seasonal only? I thought that was
No,
just her
they
job.
only did one. They only did one. Well, they only did one episode about it.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's seasonal, but it's like a high school job, so
yeah.
it's like basically an at will sort of like you can come in whenever you want.
God, I wish we had jobs like that when we were in school. Like ones that were just
Yeah,
like, yeah, just contact us and if we need you, we'll let you
well,
come in.
yeah,
That'd be so nice for like high school jobs.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I think they did two instances of the jobs. They did the wiener one, and then the day that she had to be the mascot,
Right.
which is when Mikan gets
Yeah,
introduced.
Michan
Uh, that was
shows up.
it was an interesting one. I do find it funny how one of the jokes I did appreciate was Momo's obsession with that character, but yet she's not obsessed with that character.
She's not like jumping up and down. I love this character. It was very much like I was a fan of this character when I was younger, and it never stopped.
It's not
So
even
I'm gonna buy the hat and go to the movie.
it's not even that or as far as what her response is, because that's in essence what it is, we think. But their joke or her response in essence is like, he's doing so much for the city and he's not recognized, so I must support him. It's like, whether she's playing it out that way or that's how she actually feels, I think it's how she's playing it out, like trying to be the tough person, like, no, I don't love this mascot. It's, I'm supporting this person who's trying to strive to be better and support the city, like her, I guess, as a magical girl. um yeah, it was great. That hat, I kind of would want one just because it was funny.
A glowing eyed cat hat.
Yeah, it was an interesting hat. I think we have to talk about their attempt at a plot, because most, like, this is definitely not most like cute girls doing cute things style compared to something like Yuru Camp that we did last episode. That's way more of just cute girls doing cute things. This one
Mhm.
kind of follows that same premise, or genre, I guess, not premise. It kind of follows that same genre, but it does do a few things different. One, it I think is trying even more to be a comedy than even those are. Whether that is for the better or worse, this one put way more emphasis on its jokes and comedy, and then it actually somewhat added a plot or
I
story.
I think now that we know that it started as a four coma, it was definitely written as just joke, 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 and then like maybe a year in or something, the the editor was like, "Can you introduce a plot?"
That, or maybe they just
Like
really
after it
wanted.
started to like get into the having a consistent writing, they're like, "Okay, maybe we'll introduce some plot elements here."
That, or they just wanted to pull jokes that say revolved around like the plot, or maybe that, yeah, they introduced those nuggets earlier on for jokes, and then they're like, okay, we should actually address these nuggets, because there's a few times that Momo like hints at having a secret or whatever or something
Mhm.
in the
But I
background.
mean, you can have a secret and like not introduce it until later because it's a free plot hook. It could have been she killed somebody, or she regrets defeating her rival demon girl as when she was younger, and then she's projecting that onto Shadow Mistress Yuko.
Yeah,
I was hoping we would just call her Shadow Mistress this whole episode.
Shadow Mistress, yeah. Shimiko, or Shimiko.
Shamiko,
But yeah,
Shamiko.
uh she has too many names. She has way too many names. Oh yeah, But I think that's part of what I was getting at though is they dropped those nuggets, and I feel like just it ran for so long they almost felt like they had to address those, like what that secret was. Um, so they have somewhat of a plot, and the idea is that Momo, I guess her big thing that makes her not want to be a magical girl anymore must have been her stepsister disappearing. Um,
Probably.
that's kind of what we get, is the idea that 10 years ago her sister disappeared, and we find out that her sister disappearing has to do with Yuko having her curse adjusted so that way her weakness was not, like, we assume fatal, or at least
Right.
to the point where her life would have been miserable otherwise because she was so weak.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I think they mentioned, like, was it the first year or 6 months or something? She couldn't leave the hospital.
yeah. Um, so the sister, with the help of the dad, they say, but it seems like the dad did nothing.
I forgot the dad got sealed in a orange box.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that later, or in a bit. So apparently, with the help of the dad, they tweak the seal or the curse that way she somewhat can have a decent life, and the sister then disappears. So Mobo's, I guess, big thing is that the sister disappeared, and she feels somewhat responsible or concerned about it, and that's why she's kind of sad, and that seems to be what her secret is. Which, okay, I don't.
So I read that whole scene as imagine this from a 90s magical girl anime, and there's a dramatic scene where the older magical girl has to leave for unknown reasons, and the younger group of magical girls, including her younger sister, has to protect and defeat the final boss
Yeah,
near the end of the show.
I'm just confused at why this seems to be what Momo's secret was, or her regret slash, but it doesn't quite make sense. Anyway, so that happens. So the big plot thing is like, oh, she finds out about this. Momo's sad because she feels responsible for the dad being gone because the dad had to get sealed away for some reason. And she feels responsible for it, so she feels bad for Yuko. Yuko's like, hey, yo, why do I care? Not even like, yeah, but your sister also, like, helped me have a life. It's literally just, I don't care. Yay, we can be friends.
Yeah,
Where's the joke in this? I don't, whatever. Okay.
it's a little ham-fisted, yeah.
The entire plot is. Anyway, there's no reason. They just decide, cool, we can be friends because I'm not upset that your sister, not you, made my dad disappear and quote unquote ruined my life with poverty for the last 10 years. Okay,
As opposed to getting me killed, basically.
Yeah, as opposed to me living my life in a hospital or maybe being fatally, end up dying. Whatever. Cool, fine. All right. So that's plot done. It's not addressed the fact that, well, they kind of addressed the fact we're going to go try to find your sister. Cool. All right.
Last episode, dramatic Sakura tree looking.
Yeah, nothing. It's a comedy show that somewhat tries to introduce a plot you would assume for comedy reasons. It is a comedy show, but entirely it comes down to nothing happened, nothing developed, characters aren't even funnier, there was no extra jokes from this plot. Let's spend literally a minute and a half having the girls argue about their misunderstanding of the word grill. Like, I actually timed it. It's a minute and a half of them arguing outside the door where one of them thinks that she wants to cook her mom and the other one wants her to grill, as in question the mom. A minute and a half. Why? That's so long. That's so stupidly long. It's awkward after 30 seconds. Anyway. Oh.
Yeah. You told me you were kind of in a bad mood. I'm really seeing it now.
That's just poor comedy. There's a few times where they stretch jokes way too long. That one's a perfect example of that.
Her mom coming out and saying it's gone on too long was
It's
the
great.
perfect
It's great.
capstone to that.
You could have done that in 30 seconds. It was too long after 30 seconds. It's a minute and a half. And it's one thing if there was jokes happening during this, but there really weren't jokes happening during this minute and a half. It was in essence just a minute and a half of the awkward nature of them not understanding each other. 30 seconds would have been more than enough.
That definitely feels like it may have been like
Right.
two strips, and then her mom coming in on the last one, and that obviously doesn't fill the amount of time they need, so they wrote more.
But it fills
I'm
it.
not, I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying that's probably what happened.
It's probably
I'd
what
have to
happened.
go 30 chapters in to find where that where
And
the
that-
heck that was.
But the thing is, this is an anime. I give zero cares about what your source material is. If you want a good anime, you make it a good anime. Cut it down. Say, okay, 30 seconds is enough. Even if you cut out original material and rewrite it to make it fit, just get the gist of what it was trying to do. It was too much. Back to somewhat of what the plot was. There was a few things that I just did not get about this. First off, we did mention that they actually do kind of bring up the whole sister thing again. They're going to work together. The big thing at the end of this whole thing is, we don't care that you're magical girl. We don't care that I'm demon girl. We're friends, and we're going to help each other find out what happened to your sister. Let's ignore the fact that my dad is stuck in a box back in my apartment for no reason. The only one who cares about the fact that the dad is sealed away in the box, the only one in the entire show is Momo. Not even the family. They're like,
Yeah.
whatever, cool.
Well, the two kids just like haven't had him in their lives, so you can't really miss what you don't have. And her mom is a dunce as well as Yuko.
Her mom just cares about the fact that since it's magical, it can't get wet, it can't get hot. She can use it as the perfect table.
I guarantee if whatever source or something has him unsealed, she's going to continue using him as a table, and he's just not going to realize it.
Which is fine. That'd be a fun joke. Him on his hands and knees acting as a table would be a fun joke. If you're going to introduce somewhat of a plot into, in essence, a comedy, like it's a comedy, I guess slice of life, cute girls doing cute things, there should be a joke in it. And the problem is that episode, they do this giant exposition dump of the mom explaining everything about like the curse and blah, blah, blah. That entire thing, which is in essence serious, is a giant buildup. And this entire plot seems like a giant buildup to one joke. And that is the fact the dad is sealed in a Mikan box. Mikan? No. Yes,
It's an orange.
Mikan
It's
box.
an
Orange box.
Mikan
box.
oranges.
That was an entire exposition dump that built up, in essence, to that one joke. And I'm like, that's not a good payoff. It's a horrible payoff for a joke. Like, and maybe in the original panel it made sense, but I feel they could have done a better twist on it or something.
Yeah, but it fit the rest of the tone of the show.
Did it really? It's one of the few like somewhat serious like tone shifts that they have.
Yeah, but the humor matched the tone of the show or the rest of the series. Like it doesn't. Obviously, they had to do like a plot dump at some point.
Did they?
But it's not like they.
Did they though? Did they actually have to?
I don't know.
And did they have to use an exposition? This show is horrible about exposition dumps. They do them all the time. Rather than show you stuff, they just exposition dump. And that's the biggest problem I have with that scene is it's an exposition dump that drags into that joke. The joke of him being in the box perfectly fits the tone of the show. That is right on with the tone of the show. Still wonder why they don't care, but okay, right on. But it's the giant exposition dump before that felt unnecessary because that led up to that joke. But it's the same issue. Like episode 11 starts with an exposition flashback of like showing all the different stuff that's related to like the magical girls, like, oh, they disappear if like they run out of mana. Oh, the sister, something happened with the sister. Like they do this, I think it's literally 15 seconds of like different flashbacks that have to do with like the sister slash, in essence, hinting that something happened to the sister.
Mm-hmm.
Was this necessary? We already know this.
I don't know.
We,
I have no idea what went through the writer's mind.
it's like, you didn't need this at all. This starting 15 seconds, like, it feels like they're trying to say that Yuko is thinking about this stuff. Like, this is what's on her mind when she's on the balcony or whatever. But you didn't need 15 seconds of flashbacks pointing to us as the audience, being like, hey, the sister, something's up with the sister. Hey, maybe she's dead. If they run out of mana, magical girls disappear. Hey, something's wrong with the sister. And then like wait until 3/4 of the way through the episode before like something actually comes up about the sister. You didn't need it.
I thought they had covered that beforehand.
Yeah,
like I don't even remember this flashback.
Exactly, because it was unnecessary. Like, ugh, it was just not needed. There's so much exposition dump in this, and I really didn't get it.
I'm betting it has something to do with the format, and they're just copying the like we did a 4-panel of the plot, and then like 6 weeks later we got the comment.
Yeah, and this is a classic example of what some anime fail at. And we talked about this with the Promare one, how it's impressive that a lot of what Studio Trigger does is original. Like their original works, they wrote them, they do. And a lot of other studios like convert things. They're like tasked with turning a light novel into an anime or turning a comic into an anime or something.
To various results.
And this is an example of a horrible result where you try to keep the spirit of the original format so hard that it ruins it as an anime. I liked the show, good comedy, etc. But the pacing is garbage. There's so many exposition dumps. On top of that, there's so much humor that is repetitive or is, like we mentioned with Yuko, she's just nothing but a punching bag because in a strip, that's fine. It's a joke here and there, like one little joke after another as you're reading like the panels or whatever. But when you stick them side by side in a video format, it is obvious that she is nothing but a punching bag. And like all the jokes for the most part revolve around her. It just ruins the format that an anime is. It's just, let's turn this into an anime rather than let's make an anime like with this as the theme or the premise or the source. Like, let's turn it into a good anime using this as our base. And the other big issue I had with this is all too often they had to explain their jokes. And the best way to summarize this is the worst moment, the moment in the show that I ugged the most is the very end. The literal last shot of the show made my brain hurt. Do you remember the last shot of the show?
No. Exactly.
The big premise at the end of the show, the last joke that they want to leave us with. It's an okay joke. The main character, Yuko, wants to write a challenge letter. Awesome. To the character.
Oh,
Fits the premise of the show. She's done this a lot, but not challenge letter. She writes a challenge letter. Teacher says that's illegal to challenge someone to a duel, and then proceeds to just have her turn the letter into like a love letter, which is the joke. Okay, funny. Nice pink, whatever, stationery. There we go. Nice pink stationery. It's a nice letter, like thoughtful letter. So she's like, yeah, I'm going to challenge her to a duel. So she writes this letter. She hands it over to Momo. She then obviously freaks out as Momo starts reading it in front of her because she didn't think about that and runs off. It's all cute. It's funny. Momo reads the letter. She's kind of confused. Makes sense. The letter makes no sense because it's trying to be a challenge letter, yet trying to be a nice, friendly letter. So it's like being very thoughtful and considerate. So Momo's like literally out loud, like talking to two of the other people that walk up. She straight up out loud says, I think she wants to skip our training session and go out for fun somewhere instead. So she thinks they're going to go out on, I guess, a date because they kind of do hint at them being maybe a little bit of a like into each other as part of a joke, I think. Either way. So she puts on a summer dress, shows up at the arrived time. You've got Yuko thinking that they're going to have a duel. She says 3 times as she writes it, it's a challenge letter. When she finishes it, she mentions that it's a challenge letter. And as Momo's reading it, they switch over to Yuko, and she's like, haha, she's reading my challenge letter right now, and we're going to have a duel. 3 times they say, hey, I think this is a duel. We hear Momo out loud say, I think that she wants to go out for fun instead. The 2 show up. One's wearing a summer dress, one's wearing gym clothes. They do the whole little Yuko like, haha, you actually showed up. I think that's what her dad used to say. Because
yeah, I think that was implied that her dad used to do big challenges like that.
Yeah, because it's right before she goes to leave, the mom once again brings up the whole like, hey, your dad used to say this thing. So this is an example of them not actually like explaining the joke, which is interesting because it's immediately followed by the 2 of them are standing there. You get the dots and the question mark between them as they both realize that they've misunderstood. And then it puts giant things on the screen telling us the joke. Hey, literal one behind Momo literally says, thought they were going out to have fun. A thing pops up behind Yuko that literally says, thought they were going to have a duel. This thing that you've told us and explained to us for the last few minutes, multiple times, and the last shot of the show is you literally telling us the joke, saying, hey, do you get the joke? Do you get it? They misunderstood each other, and now they're confused. Yes, show, I got the joke. You've spent minutes telling me the joke. It hurt my brain because it's so obvious of a telling of the joke. It's like, we get it. You've literally led up to this.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all. I remember the whole scene. I don't remember the
it's
end bit.
It is an after credits. But anyway, this is an after credits scene.
I do remember the scene. I just don't remember the words popping up.
Yeah, it's literally 2 giant things, one behind each of them, telling the joke, and I'm just like, this is just why. Like, it probably works for the 4 panel. It might not be as obvious in the 4 panel because these might be separate panels. Like maybe this wasn't, all one panel. But that's another example of if that's the case and you convert it to an anime, you should just not have done it. You should have known that was just bad writing and ruined the joke. I was frustrated. I was like,
yeah, that feels like something like you have a 4 panel of Yuko writing the challenge letter, saying it's a challenge letter, giving it to Momo reading it without saying anything, and then the scene of them not understanding each other.
And then they convert it to an anime, and no one in the studio, not a single person at JC staff, is like, why are we adding this?
That would require competency on the side of JC staff, and we all know that's a joke.
Hey, to give them credit, at least they made an anime that doesn't have action because they don't like to animate action anyway.
Right, yeah.
So anyway, that's just another thing I did not get about this. Here's the thing. We mentioned, I guess it was the dad used to always say it was the whole, I'm impressed you showed up. And then she added, obviously, Chiyoda Momo, because that's who she's talking to. Today is the day we celebrate your descent into darkness. The festivities are about to begin. I guess it's implied that that's what the dad used to say.
That was probably him giving the letters to their mom.
Yeah, I would guess so.
Just like them being friends through that.
Well, except it almost is I think the mom even says that your dad used to say this to you all the time. Like the dad would say it to
He
Yuko.
probably said it to everyone.
He probably said it to everyone. Once again, they actually don't confirm or deny whether, because it's literally, hey, your dad used to always say this, and then they skip straight to the scene of the two of them meeting for the challenge where they had to explain the joke. So you're supposed to assume, I guess, that the very first thing that Yuko says is what the dad used to say.
Considering it sounds super awkward that she said it.
Yeah. And also her face while she's saying it like has an awkward impression to it. But then again, maybe that's her realizing that Momo's wearing a summer dress. I don't know. Once again, this is actually nice. We're having a discussion about it. We didn't immediately get the joke. And guess what? You didn't have to put it on the screen for us like you did the joke that was right after that. Thank you. Oh, man. There was so much I had to say about this show. I overall liked it, but it just felt poorly executed, I guess is the way to put it. And I gave it a 6 because it's cute girls doing cute things. It's cute. There's some decent jokes in it. But man, if this wasn't cute girls doing cute things, it would probably be like a 2.
What if it was cute boys doing cute things?
Might still have been okay. It's just... there just seemed like there was a lot of laziness. And if it was a 4-panel, that makes sense because the laziness would fit if it was small little segments. Then just when you made it into an anime, you should have fit it to the format of being an anime.
Right, rather than adapting it to the directly, rather. I get that. All of your points are definitely Meredith, you've taken a little bit more of an aggressive tone than I definitely would even, but I'm also not a very critical person, which is why all of my scores are very high.
Yeah, it's with a lot of them, I feel like it's okay, turn your brain off, like popcorn. A lot of these, especially cute girls doing cute things, are popcorn shows. It's supposed to be cute. You know, we all like our moe. We're all moe trash. It's great. They're cute. Sit back, turn your brain off, smile, enjoy it. I'm not expecting giant plot or anything. But when you're, in essence, that, you try to somewhat introduce a plot. Cool, if it's for comedic purposes, I'm all for it. Like if you're not taking it serious. But this show kind of tried to take it serious, kind of tried to make it a joke, didn't quite make jokes about the plot in the first place. It's like, it just was very... not quite aligned. Kind of makes sense in a 4-panel if literally that's the 4th panel is the joke of him being in the box. Guess what? It's quick, it's efficient, it gets to the point. But in an anime, you're wasting like 30 seconds to a minute or whatever doing this super serious exposition dump to then end up in that joke. I thought I had one other like thing that really kind of bugged me, but I think that was most of it. Yeah, I think I just had nitpicks.
The whole thing was a blur.
Yeah, I think I just have some hitpicks and nitpicks at this point. Stuff that's not as big of a deal.
Was the previous stuff not your nitpicks?
Nitpicks don't really matter. Don't really ruin your enjoyment of the show. Most of that stuff kind of mattered. Kind of ruined the enjoyment of the show. I couldn't quite turn my brain off because it was either trying to understand jokes that were going way too fast and way too often, or it was like getting bored because jokes were taking way too long to get to the punchline, or just dragged out way too long. Did you have anything before we get into more nitpicks and little hitpicks?
No, I've got 2 hitpicks that I'd like to start off because you went on a 30-minute rant. Which, like I said earlier, I really like that her tail was that expressive.
Yeah.
It was good in all the scenes, and you could tell that her ancestor's tail is also about as expressive. And if they're ever arguing with something, they're like poking their tails rather than having the like eye lasers.
Yeah, we didn't touch much about the ancestor. I do love how they kind of tried to make the ancestor independent, but it was very obvious that Yuko is just the ancestor. Like they're in essence the same person, personality-wise and everything. Like they try to make the ancestor seem, more older, dignified, whatever. But
right, but she's still a goofball
in the exact same way Yuko is. Like
yes,
the way, like, she's not weak like Yuko as far as we can tell. Otherwise, they are the same person, which is cool. Like, you get those nuggets that make it very obvious. Ancestor was an interesting joke, and she was the butt. She actually was the butt of a decent amount of jokes with them just throwing her idol around, or like it ending up in the trash. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, I did like that too. One of my hit picks was I heard that piano drop just now. Nice, just quick one-liner joke. Loved it. It's a classic trope where, yeah, it's like shock, piano drop sound, and Rio just hit the head on the nail with that fourth wall break. Love it.
I liked the cat. The time hath come.
Yeah, and then when you see the muscle version in her dream,
Right.
that was pretty good too.
Mostly the fact that the cat can just talk and just say these things, just say the time hath come.
Yeah.
Like, but is otherwise a normal cat.
Yeah. I will say once again, with being too repetitive, there were times where they did it like 4 or 5 times within a few seconds that I think it was just a little too often and lost its impact a bit. But overall, I loved it. I do actually almost wish that they once would have had him say something else. That would have been a good joke.
Yeah, that would have been pretty funny.
Like after it was repeating a lot, and then that would have been a good end to the show. That to me would have been a good after credits, like the show is now done thing. Would have been like a reaction to him saying something that's like on the nose or on point, and then
or Momo's leaving for class and then shuts the door, and then he says something dramatically to the camera.
Yeah, or we find out he's the narrator. That would have been perfect. I think that would have been perfect. Was Momo leaves or whatever, or they have something that sets up the whole like, oh Shimaki, you like, keep it up and become a great demon girl. Like that would have been great if he would have in essence done that, and we found out that he was the narrator. That would have been a good ending joke. But yeah, I loved the cat too. It was great, especially when they first introduced it. It's a nice change. I did like some of the analogies. The soccer one was great. Yeah, it's like a 7-1 soccer match because she gets the pity point.
Right. Yeah, because we're friends. You get 1 pity point.
It's like, oh, nice analogy. Yep, you got wrecked in a soccer match and you only scored because you're a friend. That was a good joke. I like that one.
I liked Mikan's curse because it definitely felt like a single episode of like I said, the previous Magical Girl anime this was based on that didn't actually get resolved. Like there would be a side episode that this is the only thing that happened, that Mikan gets a curse that makes her bad things happen to people around her when she gets excited or upset or anything. But it gets resolved in an episode. Apparently that episode didn't end and she's just still got the curse.
Yeah, I the one issue I did have with it was that it was very effective at first. Like when they first introduce her, it is crazy stuff's happening. Later, it does almost evolve into just like everyone ends up wrapped up by a snake that looks like it wants to eat them. Like
the snake only happened like twice. I was more concerned.
I think it
with
happened
like
3 times, but
I think twice in the first episode and then once in the later episodes. It did get less interesting in the later episodes, but
overall I liked it. It did feel like it got less impactful, I guess is the way to put it. Like the curse wasn't doing as crazy of things. Maybe it would have been worse if it did. Maybe it just would have been overplayed at that point, but no, I did like it, especially when they subverted your expectations with the movie, where it's like, oh no, what crazy things are going to happen because they're going into the scary movie. Her curse is going to go haywire, and then she just falls asleep.
Well, she passes out from shock.
Yeah.
And Yuko's like totally fine with the movie.
Yeah.
So, except she's upset that the villains didn't win because the heroes have bullshit powers.
Yeah. So I did like that subvert, where it's this build up of like, oh, the curse is going to be ridiculous, something crazy is going to happen, and then nothing ends up happening. That was a nice play on it. That did bring up one of the other hit picks that I had, which was the Walking Dead reference they had, where Rio's like, why does no one get hit with bullets or whatever? Like that's
Right.
it's like, oh, that's actually good. And it was an interesting Walking Dead reference because they had like the one character was, using a crossbow. The other was dressed up in a police uniform with like a revolver. And it was like, oh, I think this is Walking Dead. But it was the same concept with that one where like she wanted the villains to win. And in that one, it was like, plot armor? What's that? Yeah. It's like, yep, love it. Good joke. Oh, Shimaki's confused. The Pokemon battle screen. Appreciated that reference. That was a good reference. Special moves. Love the name of the special moves. They're great. Fresh Peach Heart Shower. What does that even mean? I don't get it.
It's something you invented when you were a child, when you were in middle school or something.
Exactly. I didn't write down
what Mikan's was.
Yeah, what Mikan's were, but they were great too. One, if I remember right, one was slightly more serious, and then the one was like super ridiculous, like the other ones, which made it even funnier. That like the reference between the two of them, because she says two of their names like very quickly back to back.
Yeah.
If Momo knows that she's in a dream, why doesn't she spawn her own chopsticks?
I don't know.
She asks.
So you can make Shemiko do it.
Yeah, she asks Shimiko to do it, but
Shemiko.
But like, wouldn't it be just as good of a joke for her to spawn her own set, and since she knows she's in a dream, have them be like magical girl chopsticks or something crazy? Like,
I don't know.
I guess it's a bit of a
I've realized I was in a dream before, but that didn't mean I could do anything with it.
It just, to me, it felt like actually a chance for a joke that, once again, it's almost like a joke poking at her, where it's like, hey, you only spawned one set of chopsticks, spawn an extra set so we can eat together. But it would have been almost, I think, a better joke to actually have her spawn her own set and have them just be like crazy. Yeah, because they could have looked like her magical girl wand, and like she could even have commented about like not liking the fact that her chopsticks are magical girl chopsticks, but like they're the only ones she spawned or something. Like she could have given a face to him, like, what the heck are these type thing? Like it was a possible joke that they just didn't utilize. Also in the intro, at one point the song sings "oh," I think it's the word "oh" or like "ah." And they have the character on screen, which I think is Rio, makes the face for that. They're not synced. They're like slightly off. And I'm like, you could have just put that little extra effort into to make it look like the character's singing that. It's like, it seemed like a little bit of laziness. The only other nitpick I had was just a general thing of the show, which, like I said, was that it almost seemed like it wanted to be slightly serious about the plot that it introduced, but if you look at the end of the show, literally nothing came of the entire show, which makes sense for what it is. But they slightly tried to make it seem like there was going to be a wholesome relationship developing from the plot or something.
I mean, the wholesome relationship is the fact that they're friends.
Yeah, and it's just like nothing changed from their friendship at the end and the friendship before the slight plot introduction, which was just like, once again, in a 4-panel, where literally that's the goal, is nothing to happen. Like you in essence want nothing to happen because you want to keep this thing going like as long as possible, and just like you want nothing to really carry over, because if stuff carries over, you're relying on people to have seen everything that came before it, which is bad.
I really don't like the way that a lot of manga gets roped into this. Like, go as long as possible until your editor says, okay, you got to wrap it up. You've got three chapters or something like that. And the writer goes, crap.
Yeah. I feel like one of these days we're going to have an episode where we actually just talk about anime as a whole. Because we've had an issue with a lot of ones we've covered already where it's like, okay, season 1. Pretty good, other than the plot is garbage. And it's because this first season seems entirely to be set up.
Yeah, we had one of those our first episode. Our
One of our,
first,
yeah.
was it our first episode?
Yes, our first episode covered a show that was very much that, and that actually made it bad. We've had some where it was still respectable, despite the feeling that that's what it was. First one, it was bad. And it is definitely an issue, I think, on a whole for this, because of so many of these are manga or light novels. Versus like Western culture, where a lot of movies and stuff are derived from books or things that are a little bit more like you get 3 books or whatever, like a trilogy, and that's probably all you're going to get. So things seem to be more fast paced and happen more often. Pacing is an issue in general. Like I said, this one being a 4 panel, the pacing almost was the other way, where it was too fast at times. And things were happening too quickly and too often, and you could easily miss the joke. Or, like I said, there's multiple times where I just couldn't read fast enough because it was, like I said, you're talking 2 lines of subtitles, and they gave you a second, like a literal second to read it. And even if I read the whole thing, I didn't have time to really process what I read before
you
I was
have to go on to the next thing.
Yeah, the next 2 lines that I have to read within a second. So if I knew Japanese, maybe. I still think it might have been too fast, even for someone if they like could hear it to probably fully process the joke. Overall, I liked it. I gave it a 6. I enjoyed it. I just think it was poorly executed. And its adaptation to anime was very poorly done.
I accept your criticism. I'm going to revise my score to a 7.5.
7.5. Okay, I got a point.
All of your complaints got me to drop the score half a point.
Half a point. I'll take it. I'll take it. That on my scoring system, an 8 is a big stepping stone. So I will take it being dropped from an 8.
For me, an 8 is like okay, or good is good enough.
Yeah.
You get anything lower, and it starts to be like,
See, that's for me, a 5 is meh. So it's like I put this above meh. I enjoyed it.
I would put a meh at 5.
Yeah.
But there's like a lot of nuance for me in between 5 and 8, apparently. I've never really analyzed my own scoring system. I just kind of go with my gut.
Yeah. Whereas me, I try to be a bit more systematic about it. Overall, enjoyed it. Poor adaptation to anime. That kind of hindered it.
Yeah, that's fine.
I would say I'm guessing you would recommend this to someone.
Yeah, if you want a lighthearted kind of jokey anime that was based on magical girls, yeah, I'd recommend it to somebody else. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'd probably recommend it, but I think it'd be way down the list. Like, there's so much more I think I would recommend over this. I mean,
yeah, it depends on what you want. If you want comedy, this is fine for that.
It is, but I still would
it's
say
also very heavy in the Japanese kind of reference comedy, so
it is. Obviously, without going super specific, I still think I would, since it's in essence cute girls doing cute things, which a lot of times is comedy, I still think I'd put stuff like K-On! Or Yuru Camp way up on my recommendation before something like this. Unless someone specifically is like really into magical girls and you're like, okay, this is going to hit home a bit more.
Yeah.
For the most part, it's like lighthearted, good comedy. I'd still put that stuff like before I recommended this. Seen all that stuff that's already good, and you just really want more of that, like moe, cute girls doing cute things trash. Here's another one. And then
plus or minus on your side. Plus for me, there's a new season coming out this season.
I did see a thing when I was like Google searching. I didn't know if that was for sure was confirmed. Was that this upcoming season?
Yep.
Okay.
Comes out in like 2 weeks.
I'll watch it just because I generally watch nearly everything that airs. I think that's all we have to say for this show.
Yeah, I think so.
With that, let us know, what did you think of the show if you watched it? You can email us, animedigression@gmail.com, or tweet at us at animedigression. Also send us your recommendations. What are you looking forward to watching this upcoming season? What did you watch this last season?
I vote give us some trash so we can explore the 1 to 4 levels of the rating scale.
Yeah, punish us. Punish us with your worst shows. Here comes reviewers. Someone's going to recommend reviewers. I guarantee you it's going to happen.
Hey, that was my suggestion. You can't steal that.
What was the other one? Conception, I think, was one of those other, like, just horrible trash. Like, oof. Anyway, yes, send us, punish us, give us some horrible recommendations. So that way we can have me rant more, apparently, because I ranted a good amount in this one. With that, once again, keep an eye out on social media for what to watch next and what we're going to review next. With that, thank you all so much for listening/watching. Bye.
Bye-bye.